All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a method of subtraction without borrowing called the 90-10 rule. One of the most difficult things for young kids to do when they're learning subtraction is borrow numbers. They get confused between the place values and borrowing numbers, and it even gets more confusing when we start adding decimals into it. So this is a method that we can use so that we never ever have to borrow a number. Well, we're going to start by taking a look at this equation, 432 minus 164. Now, before we get to that, we have to first understand the concept behind subtraction without borrowing. So I'm just going to write up a very simple equation here, 10 minus 5. Now, obviously, we know that the answer here is going to be 5. But what if I were to, say, add 5 to both sides of this equation? Well, now the equation becomes 15 minus 10. And what we find out is as long as we add the exact same amount to both sides, these two totals are going to be the same. Your final answer to your equation will not change as long as the same quantity is added to both sides. All right, so using that idea, we can follow this little trick known as the 90-10 rule to help us subtract these numbers without actually having to borrow. So what we've got here is we've got 164. What we're going to do is we're going to try and move that number, in other words, round it up. We're going to round this number up to 200. And 200 is going to be a lot easier to subtract from 432 than currently at 164. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this number here. This is the number in the tens column. So what we're going to do is we're going to say this really means 60. And what we need to do is we need to add a number of tens in order to get it to 90. And so how many tens do we have to add in order to get to 90? Well, the answer is 3. We have to add 3 tens in order to get it to 90. Then the second part of the rule is we're going to take this number to 10. Well, how many ones do we have? We have 4 ones. And how many more ones do we have to add in order to get it to 10? Well, the answer is 6. And by doing this, we can see that 164 plus 36 does in fact equal 200. It's a nifty little trick. Now, what we just discovered earlier is that in order to maintain the same result, what we do to one part of the equation, we also must do to the other part of the equation. So if we added 36 down here, we also have to add 36 up here. So in this case, this becomes 6 plus 2 is 8, and 3 plus 3 is 6, and then there's obviously nothing for the hundreds column. And now we simply just subtract out 8, 6, 2 for a final answer of 268. All right, now stepping it up to 4-digit numbers here, we can see that the 90-10 rule is still effective the bigger the numbers we get. So this is an addendum to, this is adding on to the 90-10 rule. We actually now have the 990-10 rule. So what this means is that we just have a little bit larger number that we're working with. So when we take a look at this, we are currently at 1,876, and the number we want to move this to is to 2,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with this number here, the 8, and we say this really means 800, and we want to get it to 900. So how many hundreds do we have to add in order to get it to 900? Well, the answer is 1. Then we move to the tens column. We have 70, and what we need is 90. So how many tens do we need to add in order to get it to 90? Well, the answer here is 2. And then finally, we have the ones column, and the ones, we have 6 ones here, and we need to get it to 10. Well, how many do we need to add? 4. So now we've added 124 to 1,876 to come up with our new number of 22,000. Well, what we learned earlier, what you do to the bottom, you also have to do to the top. So we have to add 124 to the top. So 4 plus 1 is 5. 2 plus 2 is 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. And then we just bring our other 4 over here. And now you just have to subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 4 minus 0 is 4. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 4 minus 2 is 2. And as you can see, we have done no borrowing.